and girls, welcome to Ms.Etta's Academic Corner. We have with us Judah Sr. and Judah Jr. Hey guys, thanks for joining us again. I know you love to read, so what are we reading today? We're reading a story about Curious George. How did you know that? Because that's Curious George's book. And it's called Dinosaur Discovery. Woo! Yeah. So you guys have a seat right there. Hi, boys and girls. I hope you had a great time in school. Remember, I don't care where you go to school. If it's brick and mortar, remember that's in the building. Or if it's virtual or internet, however you go to school, I hope you had a great day in school. Make sure you let your parents know what kind of day you had in school. If anything happened out of the ordinary or that was different, make sure you let your parents know. They need to know everything and anything. So today we're going to read a book called Curious George, the Dinosaur Discovery. Those are D's, Dinosaur Discovery. So this is a softback book. Remember, we can flex it, we can move it, we can bend it. And what colors do you see? We see yellow, we see red, we see black, we see brown, we see white, and we see blue, and we see a greenish color, like a light green. That's the dinosaur. Now, Curious George books, some of them, not all of them, have like games in them. And this one has one in the back. It's a jumbled word search where you take the words and you unjumble them, put them in the right order, and you put them here. And these words are from the story. So that's one of the reasons why you got to pay attention if you're going to play the game, so that you can figure out the words real quick, because they're coming from the story. So you're going to help George unscramble them if you played it. Then in the back, it gives you directions for your parents to help you make a dinosaur puppet, if you choose to. And that's for your parents to help. Don't do this by yourself, because you need to use scissors, and we want you to stay safe. So let's see what this says. This is George. He is a good little monkey and always very curious. George loved to go places with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. One of their favorite places to visit was the Dinosaur Museum. Now remember, when you're reading a Curious George book, the beginning always starts out the same. Says, this is George. He is a good little monkey and always very curious. Now, because it's the same, that doesn't mean you don't read it. Still read it, because sometimes the teacher might ask you a question and you need to remember what's in the beginning of the book. And so this is the Dinosaur Museum. They like to go to it. So it says, since they like to go to it, that means they must have been there more than once. Okay? Today is a special day, George's friend said. We're going to do something very interesting. George was curious. What could be more interesting than a trip to the Dinosaur Museum? The man with the yellow hat led the way through the museum. George wanted to stop and look at the dinosaur bones, but his friend kept going, so George kept following. Finally, they walked right out the back door. So we see all the exhibits. We see the dinosaurs, some with bones. See the one that's bones, all bones? And then we see this one here with the horns. And we see some stuff here. But the man goes straight to the door that says exit. That's the back door. A van was waiting for them outside. Climb in, George, said the man with the yellow hat. George looked out the window as the van drove off. Where could they be going? At last, the van reached a rocky quarry. Dozen people were there. Some were digging with shovels. Others were using pickaxes or other kinds of tools. So that's what a quarry looks like. It's like rocks, and there's a mountain full of dirt and stones, and they're digging in it. They're digging stuff out. What could they be digging? We are going to find out. Surprise, George's friend said. We're going to help the museum scientists dig for dinosaur bones. George was curious. Were there really dinosaur bones buried in this quarry? He ran over for a better look. Hello, said a friendly scientist. Are you here to help with the dig? George watched the scientist work. She dug up some dirt and put it into a sifting pan. Okay, a sifting pan is when you have, it has holes in it. And when you pick it up and the dirt falls out, but the things that were in the dirt stay on top. So you shake it and the dirt falls out and then you see what's left. It took a long time to sift it, and in the end there were no dinosaur bones. Oh well, she said, time to try again. So sometimes when you're doing that, you find things and other times you don't. So if you don't find something, you just try again. But the next pan was empty too. So was the next and the one after that. George yawned. George sounded like he was getting bored. So far, digging for dinosaurs was not as exciting as he expected. George was curious. Could he help to find some bones? So George got impatient. He got bored. So he wanted to see what could he do. So George is looking at this shovel. He found a spare shovel laid nearby. He dug and dug and dug and dug, but he didn't find any dinosaurs. When he climbed out of the hole, George spotted another scientist. He was dusting something with a small brush. Oh, well, the scientist said, it's not a bone, it's just a rock. So even though they're looking for dinosaur bones, they could either find nothing, or they might find rock, or they could find simply dirt. You never know. George wanted to help. He picked up a brush and went to work. But it turns out that monkeys are not very good at dusting. That's because George had a brush in 4 hands, and so he's dusting real fast. And look at how that dust is flying up in the air, right? As he hurried away from the cloud of dust, George bumped into the wheelbarrow. Maybe there were dinosaur bones in it. He climbed up to look inside, but the wheelbarrow was tipping. Sounds like George was impatient again. Crash. George, the wheelbarrow, and a whole lot of dirt went flying. Hey, someone cried. What is that monkey doing? Uh-oh. George scrambled away, straight up the cliff. Monkeys are good at climbing, so George kept going, higher and higher. So see all that dust over here? So George took up off that mountain. He ran. What is he going to do when he get up there? Can you guess? I don't know. Can you guys guess? I'll tell you what he did. When he got to the top, he accidentally knocked down a stone over the edge. That stone hit another stone, then another stone, then another stone, then another stone, then another stone. And now we have what's called a rock slide. A rock slide is when all the stones start falling all at once. So the stones came down and more dirt. That doesn't sound good. The man with the yellow hat called for George to come down. George wanted to climb down, but he was afraid the scientists would be angry with him. But the scientists didn't look angry. Look, one cried, pointing. Look at what the monkey uncovered. What do you think happened when all that dirt and dust and rocks came down? What could it have been that George helped them to discover? Think about it. What were they looking for from the beginning? That's right. Dinosaur bones. So because of what happened with George, They found the dinosaur bones. Those are big bones too. After that, the dinosaur dig was even more fun. George helped the scientists to dig and to sift and to dust and to take photographs of the bones he found. So without George, they might have been there for a longer period of time. So even though things looked like things were not working out, it still worked out in the end for the good. And the next time he and the man with the yellow hat visited the dinosaur museum, George got to see his dinosaur, the one that he helped discover, on display. And they called it Georgosaurus. That's the name of the dinosaur that George helped to find. So George was able to do a good thing once again. So boys and girls, we have another story about being patient, but we also have a story about waiting to see how things turn out at the end, because sometimes although things may look like they're not working well, at the end, they're working out for your good. So see you next time, boys and girls.